Hi, I am Allie Camaletti, and you are listening to Snack Leadership. I will be talking about everything leadership, broken down into bite-sized pieces. You will hear what different leadership skills look like in organizations and how they can rise teams up or take them down. I help leaders build resilience and improve performance by bringing awareness to opportunity behaviors in my business. Spark your mindset. I provide leadership and sales coaching, as well as team building and guest speaking. My hope is for you to feel inspiration and to create a spark in your mindset. Hi everyone, today we are talking about interdependence. Interdependence is universal collaborative value that grows and develops from a sense of community and the spirit of team support. With 28 years of experience, Bob Carrothers facilitates peer-to-peer boards of CEOs and executives, creating environments conducive to skill enhancement, informed decision-making, and superior results. He offers individual coaching, arranges expert speakers, and provides access to a global network of over 45,000 board members, spanning 35 countries. After talking with Bob and hearing his involvement with Vistage, made me want to be him when I semi-retire. Bob, thank you so much for joining us today and your time.
It's my pleasure. I'm honored to be here.
So let's start off. What's something that you've learned about yourself recently?
You know, I had to give that a lot of thought, but I think it's to be a better husband.
I love
My
that.
my wife is going through some rough times. She's developed cancer of the bladder,
I'm so sorry.
and so it's putting more demands on me as a husband, and I'm
Absolutely.
having to learn to play the game at a whole new level, and it's great. I love it.
Life is so interesting that way. We are never finished learning.
No, never.
Never.
And when we are, it's not a good thing. I think it's the end of us.
Yeah, it's a red flag when we
Hmm.
think we are. And it
When we
goes
know
back
it
to
all.
this. Yeah, like Jim Collins, right?
Yeah,
The leadership levels that he talks about, and that
right,
level 5.
right, exactly. And I love the quote, I never learned so much as when I thought I knew it all.
Totally. I know. I like to say the older I get, the more I realize I don't know much.
Yeah, right.
And people sometimes look at me like I'm crazy. I think
Hmm.
youngers that are like, oh, you're supposed to know it all by this age. And I'm like, oh, no.
I just have more questions.
I know. I am constantly curious.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
absolutely. I am
that's
so
great.
sorry for your wife, and my heart goes out to you both as you go through this.
Well, thank you. I know she's going to be fine. She's a
Yeah.
strong woman.
Yeah. So, when do you feel like you first embodied this idea of interdependence?
Well, a company can't exist without interdependence. A family can't exist without interdependence. So I guess when I first got married and when I first founded my uh, first company, and I was forced to be a leader, and I realized I couldn't do it all by myself. So growing the businesses definitely was about interdependence, and running businesses that had grown was all about interdependence. And now that I'm a chair, that's about interdependence. There's no way you can exist without depending on others. And if you think you can go it alone and don't need others, re-examine your belief there.
What have you experienced with companies that struggle with this idea of making the shift from team members being really independent to interdependence?
Well, companies, the companies I work with, and I used to work with really small ones, they don't, they've always got some kind of interdependence unless it's just the founder when he's starting out. But once you have two people, that's interdependence. larger companies, probably if somebody thinks they can do it all on their own without others, they don't get hired. They get found out in the interview process. If they sneak through, then they either learn to do it and be good at it, or they'll be asked to go find another position.
What are some red flags that you have watched when leaders are struggling to make that shift and are really kind of stuck in that independent?
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard for them to turn it over to others, you know, and make them accountable and hold them accountable. And I'll hear this. I used to hear it a lot, not much more, but it's the quote that it's easier to do it myself than to teach him how to do it.
I hear that all the time.
Yeah,
All the
it's
time.
right, right. And what it means is you've just become the biggest bottleneck in the company.
Mm, which
Nothing can get.
is
Go ahead.
no, it just makes my heart hurt when I hear that
Hmm.
because it's like they're getting in their own way.
That's exactly right. They're holding back their ability to grow because you can't get anything done unless you go clear it with the owner or the CEO.
So
And
they're not
that's
growing. The people that they are supposed to be supporting are not growing.
right, exactly. And they're not supporting the founder or the CEO, so they're probably going to leave because they're unhappy, and it's just a disaster. So the leader either has to learn how to do it and become excellent at it, or they'll be asked to leave.
Have you ever watched any successes where people have started out that way and then they've been able to transition?
Oh, sure, sure. I think most founders start out that way
I
because they're
agree.
of us, entrepreneurs of a small company. Is they get in it and they're the ones with the dream and they're the ones with putting all the money up. They're the ones taking the risk and they want to make sure that the decisions made are correct and as they would do it. So naturally, they just make the decisions. And it doesn't take long to realize that it, they're getting in their own way and they need other people. You can't grow if you're doing everything.
You are such a wealth of knowledge, and I'm going to ask you some questions that I did not give you ahead of time, but I have no doubt that you're going to be able to answer these. What about situations where, let's say, a founder
Hmm.
gave up control, but then things went sideways and they want to pull in the reins because things went sideways when they gave up control? How do they handle those situations without just blowing things up?
Well, if they're not in a peer advisory group with, with others helping them, they will probably just go back to the old way of doing it. And it'll stunt their growth because they'll keep doing it too long. But I've seen them do it, and they panic and they go crazy, and um, they yell at everybody, and it just becomes a really miserable place to work. And they get it back together, and they start again, and uh, going a different direction, and they'll work it out,
So when
or
you've watched,
or they quit, they give up.
or they sell, right?
Oh,
Depending on the type of company, they're just like, I can't do this anymore. It's making me crazy.
that's
And they
right,
get out.
right.
And then I think that we get kind of have those situations for our own growth and they continue to show up in our world in
Oh,
some form.
oh, of course. I'll never do that again.
uh, so let's just pretend that they do have a peer group and this
Uh huh.
happens and they
Hmm.
want to go to that place where they just pull in the reins and take over again. What would the peer group tell them?
Don't. But I mean, they would say, "Look at you. you make a mistake, it's a growth opportunity. This is a game. It's not personal. You'll just readjust and move forward. What'd you learn from this? What did you get out of it? What'd your people learn? And stop it. There's no need to do this. Let's just calm down and move forward.
Well, and maybe there's even opportunity for some new processes to be put in
Absolutely.
place.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
New
like
way.
maybe things were a little too loosey goosey. And
Mm-hmm.
so now that we've learned, let's put in some different processes where we can all be on the same page and make decisions together.
That's exactly right. And it's made the leader a better leader.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So hard
Leadership
to,
is leadership is just a bunch of things that is I guess a total of your experiences in some way.
I completely agree. And it is hard to watch when you see those owners and they kind of lash out, and what creates the ripple in the company of the
Mm-hmm.
employees that are now fearful. And it
Mm-hmm.
just really can create toxicity in an
Yes,
organization.
it sure can. And the people probably, are not going to put up with it very long unless they just really need the job, and they'll stick around, but it's not pretty.
No, it's not. And they will eventually leave. Because
Right.
if it happens too many times, they're just waiting for the next time it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
There he goes again. You know,
exactly. Yep.
just get out of his way. Don't go in his office today.
I know,
I've heard
right?
I've heard those things.
Yeah. Now you're a mentor for
Mm-hmm.
others,
Uh-huh.
but as you were coming up in your career, what's like share with us one of your favorite mentors that you had?
He's a fellow named Edgar Papke. He's from close to Denver here. He and I have been friends for 20 years. He's kind of a renaissance man in that he's been an executive chef. He sold insurance. Now he's an author. He writes books. He was a Vistage chair. He was one of our top Vistage speakers. He did well over 1,000 presentations to our members. And he's been a good friend. And he's a great confidant. And we talk, and he asks me great questions, and it makes me think. Um, and it's been great.
I love
When
it.
I'm blowing up, I could go to him. Another one is my daughter.
Mm,
She is an executive coach. She has been for 20 years now. She's really good at it, and she's better than I am for sure. And I'll go to her, and she'll help me figure things out.
that's beautiful.
Hmm.
And how about a quote that you feel really embodies this skill of interdependence?
A quote. Well, there's one here. I don't know if it's exactly. It's the one that says trying to solve problems by doing the same things the same way and expecting the results to change is the definition of insanity. And that's got to be interdependence because you got to get your team to think at different levels and try new things and, you know, get you going.
That is one of my favorite quotes.
Mine
And I
too.
feel like I say it
Mm-hmm.
at least once a month
Mm-hmm.
when people come to me and they're frustrated. And I ask, like, all right, let's spin it a little bit
Yeah,
and reevaluate. What can you do differently? Like, what questions can you ask? Different
sure.
questions. And yeah,
Absolutely. It's funny in the group, a guy will be presenting a topic or something for discussion, and someone of them will say, trying to solve problems by doing the same things the same way over and over is the definition of insanity. Do you fit into this quote? Something like that.
well, and so much has changed in our world and continues to change.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's constantly reevaluating, and part of what I love about business so much.
Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah,
never dull.
it's moving so fast now.
It
And
is.
with AI, it's only going to get faster.
Yeah. I
So,
recently had an owner, and he's like, Allie, can you send me all of the different follow ups that I do with coachings? Because I send a follow up each coaching.
uh-huh.
And he's like, I'm going to throw it into AI. And I was like, all right, what is that going to do? Because I was curious.
Yeah.
And he goes, it's going to tell me trends. And I'm like, oh, let me know. I'm interested. I already know what I've been covering with everybody, but I'm curious if AI
Hmm.
says the exact same thing or not, or what it comes up with.
I'd love to see that, what it comes up with.
Right? Me too. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, great. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share before we wrap it up with your favorite snack?
Uh, like I said, become a member of a peer group.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's Vistage or it's something your CPA's put together. Just get around other business owners and business leaders so that you can grow at a much faster rate. You'll make better decisions, you get better results, and it just works.
Yeah, we have one in our industry that has become more popular. That gentleman, Tristan Webb, he facilitates and has been growing. And then in my community, I think I had shared, we have something called Opportunity Knocks that I was
Okay.
involved with for 13 years,
Wow.
part as a member and then another part as facilitating. And those relationships are relationships that I still have. Like,
Yeah.
I am fortunate, my facilitator, I get to go walk with her, Roberta Johnson. Like, we try to get together, and I appreciate that so much. And it speaks to interdependence and
Mm-hmm.
being able to be collaborative and support,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're a solo entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so important. You've got to have somebody to bounce your ideas off of that
Yeah,
understands the shoes you're walking in.
absolutely. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your favorite snack?
Chips and dip.
Do you make your own dip?
We cheat. We mix Lipton's French onion soup with sour cream and whip it up, and it makes a great dip.
That
My
is a great one.
my favorite.
I love it. Oh, Bob, thank you so much for sharing your time, sharing your knowledge. I really appreciate you.
This has been fun. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for tuning in to Snack Leadership. I hope you felt inspiration, motivation, and felt your mindset spark. Snack Leadership is recorded and produced by myself, Ali Camilletti, and music by Shireen Amini.